Well, good evening and welcome to this regular meeting for Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. If everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Grigsby.
Here.
Mr. Haynes.
Here.
Mrs. McCarthy.
Here.
Mrs. Saxon. Mr. Baca.
Here. Ms. Saxon will not be in attendance this evening as she's moving one of her two children and her dorm. So we're excited for her. Finalization of the agenda. Is there anything to add or remove?
The agenda is final as presented.
Thank you. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the written summary of the regular minutes for the meetings on July 2nd, 2024, July 9th, 2024, and July 16th, 2024.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCarthy, second by Mr. Grigsby. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby.
Yes.
Mr. Haynes.
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon. Mr. Baca.
Yes. We'll move right into the superintendent treasurer's report.
Okay, so yesterday we welcomed back our entire staff, which was very exciting. During convocation, we talked about our goals for the upcoming school year, as well as the upgrades that have been made to Liberty Elementary and what we are looking at for our brand new high school. So there was an overall feeling of excitement, and we were extremely grateful to have that opportunity to speak with our entire staff. Second part, we will be expecting all of our students back, except for kindergarten and preschool. But grades 1 through 12, we will have back on Thursday. So we're excited for all of our students to start. Next Tuesday would begin our kindergarten and pre-K students. So pretty excited to have them back in buildings, and I would entertain any questions you have about the beginning of school.
And again, Liberty looks amazing.
It does look so good.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, great. Next, I would ask that Mr. Pritt joins us just to give us a quick enrollment update on where we are today. And we know this will fluctuate and change, but we'll be glad to continue to update you throughout.
Appreciate it. Good evening, board.
Good evening.
The numbers I'm going to give you, I'll be honest with you, are old. They're from yesterday. I think they will give you a pretty good picture of where we are. As we talk about every year at this time, we are a district that is continuing to grow. So if I look at grades 1 through 12 first, we have had 168 student enrollments this summer that have been completed at this point in time. We have had in those same grade bands 96 students transfer out. So right now we're at a net of plus 72 students. What is still pending, though, there are 43 students as of yesterday that were still pending in our system. I anticipate, based on when those students enroll in the grade levels that they're currently in, that probably 3/4 of them will still enroll with us before school starts. I guess 2 days from now. So that put us at a net of about 100 students right now. What's also important to keep in mind is that a lot of our numbers over the course of the school year will be driven by our kindergarten and our pre-K numbers. So when I look at our pre-K numbers, there's some really interesting things there. Last year, we ended the year with 209 preschoolers. This year, we're starting the year with 201 preschoolers. So we're looking at basically having, in front of us on opening day, what we ended with at the end of last school year. So what will be interesting to watch is, does that number grow the way it typically does? In a typical year, it's not unusual, as students are identified as needing services in pre-K, for that number to grow 30, 40, 50 students. So does that happen this year? Or have we identified, those students out there, and that's why that number is so much higher than right now? It will not surprise me if we end the year, over last year, up 130, 140, 150 students, as we typically have in the last handful of years. So we are growing, great problem to have. We'll be able to move to places with not great schools. So we're excited about that. But of course, it still presents some of those challenges that we've grown accustomed to. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Mr. Baca, I know you're going to ask. I anticipate being somewhere north of 4,800 students when the year comes to an end. So
Thank you.
right in that moment.
Anything else? I hope we have questions.
Yes, David, our preschool students are, afforded an opportunity to come to preschool when they turn 3, if they're getting services,
That
correct?
is correct, yes.
So that's why that number is always changing and growing.
The number is
as
always
Students
correct. So
are
as-
identified and then
correct.
are aging. Okay.
Yeah. So if I look at our numbers right now, we have 66 students that are in that pre-K age 3 range. And there are 135 students that are 4-year-olds in our pre-K program.
Okay.
So as we add students who might be identified as having a service that is needed, typically we would also add a typical peer to make sure that we keep a pretty consistent ratio between them. So that number will continue to grow. This is the smallest number we'll have in pre-K across the entire school year. It'll only go up.
And so I imagine we're gonna have to do some interesting things with the layout of the building.
So we were fortunate to at least start this school year, in that we were able to reduce a section in the building at the end of last year.
Okay,
So we actually do have one available classroom to work with if we need to.
perfect.
So remember, at the start of last year, we actually had, every single room in use over there, but we do have a little flexibility this year. If we were to have, the holiday time decide or the semester time, if we needed to add an extra section.
Okay, great, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. You did it. We're here 40 years.
Well, I mean, that's the reality.
It is,
Say
it
grade
is for
3.
the last 10, 12 years. Yeah. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. All right, here's an opportunity for hearing of the public. If anybody's in attendance this evening would like to address the Board of Education, now's your chance. Just as a reminder, typically what will happen is the appropriate person will follow up with you after the meeting to address any questions or concerns you have. Okay, I'll see none. Do we have any announcements this evening? Okay. Moved into the consent agenda. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda resolution as presented.
Move.
Second. Moved by Ms. McCarthy, second by Mr. Haynes. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby?
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon? Mr. Vaca?
Yes. Right, finance report, Ms. McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Bacco. We have one item this evening for consideration under the finance report. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the financial reports for July 2024. I move to approve the finance items in one reading.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCarthy, second by Mr. Grigsby. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby?
Yes.
Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon? And Mr. Vaca?
Yes. Right, education report, Mr. Grigsby.
Thank you, Mr. Buckeye. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following school support organizations for the 2024-25 school year as presented. The ECLC PTA, the North Ridgeville Athletic Boosters, the North Ridgeville Band Boosters, the Liberty Elementary PTO, the NRAC 3 to 4 PTO, the NRAC 5 to 8 Boosters, the Ranger Council, and the RHTA PTO. These organizations have met the criteria and guidelines established by district policy and will work in partnership with our schools to support and enhance the educational experience of our students. We thank them in advance for their service. I move to approve the education report in one reading.
Second. Moved by Mr. Grigsby, second by Mr. Haynes. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Grigsby?
Yes.
Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon? Mr. Vaca?
Yes. Okay, buildings and operation report. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve Hammond Construction as a construction manager at risk for the new high school and maintenance and transportation project. I move to approve the buildings and operations report in one reading.
Second?
Moved by myself, second by Ms. McCarthy. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby?
Yes.
Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon?
Human Resources report, Mr. Haynes.
Thank you, Mr. Vice. We have several items to consider under your Human Resources report. 1 support staff substitute rates of pay, 2 certified staff leave replacement appointments, 1 certified building substitute contract, 3 non-represented support staff contracts, 5 support staff appointments, 3 support staff substitute contracts, 2 NREA supplemental contracts, 2 non-NREA supplemental contracts, 8 certified staff adjustments, 3 support staff adjustments, 1 certified staff leave of absence, 1 administrative staff resignation, 6 support staff resignations, 1 supplemental contract resignation. I move to approve the human resources readings in one item.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Haynes, second by Mr. Grigsby. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon, Mr. Vaca.
It is recommended that the Board of Education adjourn this regular meeting.
Moved.
Second.
McCarthy, second by Mr. Haynes, roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon, Mr. Vaca.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your evening and, start of the school year on Thursday.
All righty.